Polypix here, coming to you once again with One Piece chapter 1163 entitled Promises. So we're starting from the bottom up because we just got our request this week. So big shout out to two mods on my Discord, the Digital Burrow, link in the description, KMDP and Mini, because KMDP said, wouldn't it be interesting if Rocks got Dami reversied? And that's what happens in this chapter at the end. But what Minnie pointed out in a conversation from somewhere else is that IMU's Dami Reversi most likely has something to do with the land and the inhabitants of that land, because we know that God Valley is the hometown of Rocks, and we know that Elbaf is the hometown of the Giants. So with that being said, the only difference here is that when IMU is on Elbaf, they are possessing Gunko. The possession of Gunko seems to be a lot different than the possession of Saturn, which most likely means that there are two different contracts of the Abyss with Gunko and Saturn, which makes a lot of sense because we have two different magic circles assigned to them. The Five Elders magic circle that we see on Egghead had a bunch of fives on it, but the magic circle that Gunko was summoned with and what she used to summon Killingham and Summers did not have fives on it. So there are two different contracts. Therefore, when possessing Gunko, IMU had to set up a contract with the land itself and then draw blood from an inhabitant, that being Broggy in this case, in order to then Dami Reversi all the inhabitants of Elbaf, meaning all the people native to Elbaf. However, with the God Valley incident, it's a little different because IMU seems to be more here than when they're possessing Gunko, because they actually have the full silhouette present here on God Valley. So all IMU presumably needs to do is stab somebody, and in this way they're stabbing them harmlessly, kind of like how what Law does with his awakening, because Rocks mentions that it doesn't even hurt or itch. So because IMU is more present on the land, one, there may not be a need for a magic circle, and two, we know, of course, Rocks or XEBEC is the inhabitant or a native of God Valley. So all IMU has to do is interact with Rocks' body and then activate Dami Reversi. But you, yes, you watching the video, use your own Dami Reversi power to turn that red subscribe button into a gray subscribe button, and that like button into a click like button. Also, if you have the power, please use those powers to click the hype button. It's greatly appreciated. All right, on with the video. So that's what I think. Here, IMU is present, or more present, thanks to the possession of Saturn. They don't need to set up a magic circle, so they could just possess a native of the land, this being Rocks or XEBEC directly. However, in Elbaf, seeing as how IMU wasn't actually there, they had to do a whole contract and agreement with the land itself and a blood sacrifice with Broggy in order to actually possess all of the natives of Elbaf. That's why I think I'll probably do another video about this at a later date, but I wanted to get it out here. Some other interesting points that do happen in this chapter is that, one, we get an actual named attack for Rocks, that being Pandemonium of the Abyss, which is a weird attack name. And I guess, yeah, he does not have a power, because we would have seen it here. He does not have a power. Also, we get another named attack for Whitebeard, and I think this is the first time he actually says one of his attack names, because all of his attack names before this, I believe, came from video games and other media. So his attack name is called Shattering Void. Big Mom is on the scene here using Okaku Sovereignty. Of course, we have Garp with his Galaxy Impact, and that's super weird that he becomes the hero of the Marines after this, seeing as how he did attack IMU. And of course, Roger has Divine Departure. Kaido's attacking too, but he just yells Dragon because he's an idiot. This flashback has done so much damage to Kaido's reputation. Kaido is a goober. Oh my heavens. It's so funny. It's so very funny. But yeah, going from the bottom up, Big Mom is pissed that Kaido ate the fish fruit model Azure Dragon and came in on Zeus. And at this point, yes, she does have Napoleon. So we have a hard confirmation that her bicorn at this point is the homie known as Napoleon. Also, another important thing to know. One, Captain John does have the Magna fruit. That is confirmed as he tries to take all the treasure for himself. So he might be indeed the father of Eustace Captain Kidd. We have a video on that specifically coming up, but this is a hard confirm. Another hard confirm is, surprisingly, Ganzu, the big dude in armor that's on the Rocks Pirates, was the previous holder of the Bomb fruit, because his attack Sky Snake Red Cannon is him just flicking a big booger at Captain John to stop him from stealing the treasure. So that's wild. That's so wild. But from this, we find that this is exactly how Shanks got into the treasure chest in the first place. Because after Ganzu blows John up, Shanks makes his way inside. So we know that's how that happened, because that was revealed, I want to say, when Film Red came out. That's how the Roger Pirates found Shanks in a treasure chest. So I wonder, where did Buggy come from? I really do. Could Buggy have been on this island somewhere? We don't really know. But that's something to just take note of, because it's actually happening in the story right now. So another interesting point is that it appears as though Emu confuses Rocks for Davy Jones just because they have the same blood. So I guess Emu is way older than we think. I'm not sure. Now, when Emu appears, Rocks calls Emu the Rat King. I don't know if this is a confirmation of Emu's gender or not, or is this just an ambiguous way to refer to Emu? I'm not sure, because I keep saying there are a lot of things that could suggest that Emu is a woman based on just silhouette and how Emu isn't portrayed to be bulky, and there really aren't a lot of skinny rat men in One Piece. So I don't know. That's strange. But yeah, Emu also refers to the world as Mu's world when they get into conflict with Rocks. So I don't know. It's really interesting how Emu is that determined to kill off the Davy family. And that's why Emu possesses Rocks, so he can go after his wife and child himself, therefore eliminating the Davy clan with the Davy clan, which is very insidious, but makes a lot of sense because that's what Emu does. Also, another interesting thing to point out is that when Emu attacked Sabo and Cobra way back in the day, that was using an attack that does damage, because it seems as though Emu swiped them with their tail, because we know from Gunko's possession, they appear to have some sort of arrow demon tail. So Emu can both do attacks that do damage and go past durability, much like Law, and do attacks that don't do damage that are solely for possession. So that's interesting. But I do think the possession has to do with the land that the person is tied to. Otherwise, it seems a little too broken. But we'll have to wait and see for more context on that. And now we're back at the top with the start of the chapter, and nothing really happens at the start, which is very funny. It just emphasizes how Emu possessed Saturn and is now going on a rampage, but nobody knows exactly what they're being attacked by. So that's interesting too. I just did a video about the Marine Mark possibly being another Dami Reversi sigil, or another Mark of the Abyss. So go check that out, because that could be interesting if Emu ever got to a pinch, if the Marines actually found out that they were working for the devil and the devil can't be trusted. But we'll have to wait and see what happens next week, because there is no break next week, which is fantastic. So I'll see you then, and we'll have more videos for you in the meantime. But with that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede. What's it?